Okay, that's all working. So welcome and thanks for joining us. So this is a Q&A session for the development brief from the Galloway Society for the Blind. And this brief is part of the Catalyst and the National Lottery Community Fund COVID-19 Digital Response Funding Initiative. And that's a partnership between National Lottery Community Fund and CAST, supported by the Catalyst Network. So my name is David, and I'm one of the partnerships managers at CAST. I'll be hosting the session, and we're running a number of these sessions for all the different briefs, which you can find on our open projects page. So we've got about 45 minutes for this session. I suggest we do a quick round of intros just to see who's joined us. We'll then hand over to Tina and your team so you can give a bit of an overview about the really interesting and exciting work you're doing at Galloway's, with a bit more information also about what you're hoping to achieve through this funding. And then we'll open up for questions, Nick, from yourself and anyone else who joins us later. And we will be recording the session and putting it on the website for other potential partners who might come across this opportunity. So I'm David, I'm Partnerships Manager at CAST, feeling good, sunny Monday, so feeling quite energized. And I'll hand over to Hasanga. Hi, Hasanga.
Hi, I'm the head of finance for Galloway's. I'm really representing the team in case any of the partners need to know any information about our financial position, etc.
Great, thanks for joining. And hello, Andrew.
Hiya, my name's Andrew Coleman. I'm a lead on digital services and assistive technology at Galloway's.
Fantastic. And hi, Rachel.
Oh, hi, David. My name's Rachel Watkinson. I'm head of services for Galloway's. So I essentially look after the whole service delivery for Galloway's, and we'll tell you a little bit more about Galloway's in our presentation.
Fantastic. Thank you. And hello, Tina.
Hello, I'm Tina Boddington. I'm the Trust and Grants fundraiser. So I'm involved in putting together the bids and then, sort of making sure that people are aware of how to deliver the project.
Great. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Tina. Thanks all of you for joining us from Galloway's. And hello, Nick.
Hey, my name's Nick Wade. I'm a front-end engineer at Neon Tribe. A lot of what I do involves kind of visual accessibility things, so I thought I'd tune in and find out some more about this project.
Great, thanks a lot, Nick. We'll do a quick presentation with the Galloway's team, and then Nick will have a bit of time to answer any questions that you might have, and vice versa. And then if we've still got time and we've got anything else we want to discuss, we can make the most of this opportunity for being together to do that. I'll just share my screen to make sure that you've got your slides up. Just bear with me. Okay, so I'll hand over to the Galloway's team, yeah, you've got a few slides here to give us a bit of an overview about the work you've been doing. Over to you.
Okay, so this is one for me. So we're going to pass between a few of us throughout the presentation, but please jump in if you've got any questions, but there's an opportunity at the end as well. So Galloway Society for the Blind are a registered charity, and we're the largest sight loss services in Lancashire and Sefton. So we support blind and partially sighted people essentially in the northwest, and that's our area of benefit. We do that through a number of different services essentially, and it's difficult at this point to talk about pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID, but I guess that predominantly what we're here to do is to encourage independence through a number of different services, which include activities and social groups, and usually we would deliver those in our buildings or out in the community. We've also got a team of sight loss advisors, sight loss support advisors, and they assist with things like low vision aids, equipment, living independently in your home, that kind of thing, connecting with other partners in our local area as well. And then we've got a huge service through assistive technology as well, which is Andrew's, who's on the call today, and that's his area of service, and I'm sure he'll talk you through some of that as well. We've got a Sport England programme, Get Active programme, where we have a lot of kind of sporting activities that people take part in and enjoy, anything from walking groups, climbing, cricket, that kind of thing. During COVID, we've had a huge adaptation of our services, probably the biggest adaptation that we've seen in a long time. We look after 7,000 service users, and we actively support just over 4,000. And one of what we did during COVID was all about kind of well-being at the start and just double checking how everyone was coping with it. So our team of advisors really, and even our wider staffing group, kind of hit the phones and kind of provided that ongoing welfare service. And as time went on, we kind of whittled that list down to those that were kind of the most vulnerable and those that didn't have a support network in place. And that was really, really crucial. And that's something that we continue to do here in the Northwest. We're in Tier 3, and we've just been hit with that. So our welfare calls are kind of even more important at the moment. Assistive technology and digital support services have formed a huge part of our COVID response. That comes with an additional set of challenges in terms of getting visually impaired, often older people, onto digital platforms. But I would say that assumption that people can't and don't want to, we've completely dispelled that myth. We've got a huge amount of online and telephone-based support that's happening in our community at the moment. Anything from, Amazon dropping in and telling us about what they're doing, Microsoft. Andrew leads a lot of those sessions, and they've been absolutely incredible, and we'll get a huge amount of people on those every week. We've had kind of sporting heroes that have come on and given sessions, but then we'll also kind of get some clinical aspects. We might get some social prescribers on as well. So there's been a real mixed bag of information that's been put out there through our digital support services. Developed our own Alexa skill so that we can read the local newspaper to individuals through Alexa, and kind of what's going on in people's areas as well. We've on a new app called Be My Eyes. It's a national app, so we're now we were one of the first highly trained sight loss advisory team to be listed within the specialist health there. So that was a huge achievement for us. So there's been a lot happened in terms of our COVID adaptation of services, and I'm not quite sure that we'll ever be the same again, which I think there's been a huge amount of positives that have come from that. And I don't think that we've ever supported the volume and the amount of people that we've supported that we currently do at the moment. I just want to put in there as well, and this is included in the slides, that kind of lived experience of sight loss is a really, a real strength of Galloway's. Not only do we have trustees that sit on our board that are visually impaired or have lived experience of sight loss, but we've got a wealth of experience within our team. We've got some people that are visually impaired, but we've also got people that are extremely experienced in this sector, and I certainly learn a lot every single day from the team that are working with Galloway's. So, and our aim is to achieve vision for every visually impaired person, so they can realise their aspirations and their dreams, really. So what we try and do is tailor our service to so it's individually led, and it's very kind of enabled led as well. Thank you, David. Okay, so key challenges to address. So we want people to access technology at the moment. We know through our own data capture during COVID that need to feel connected to friends and family to reduce loneliness and isolation has been absolutely key for individuals. So we've got some issues around sight loss and accessing technology, and how we want to deliver those tech services. There's some issues around developing digital knowledge and skills, and to know what to buy and what they can do with tech. There's issues around affordability. We've got a lot of people that have got tech that we can get people onto those devices, but there are definitely a proportion of individuals that don't have the means and don't have the funds to be able to access that. So this has been really crucial for us in this project. This is a huge thing for us, and the relevance of services has never been more important to us during COVID. So there's issues that have to ensure services remain relevant during lockdown. And we've launched a new project called Build Back Better, where we're reviewing absolutely everything that we do as an organisation. We want to be designed and led by blind and partially sighted people. So Build Back Better, pre-Boris Johnson using that name, because we're not politically led in any way. But there's been a huge amount of work in engaging with blind and partially sighted people and key stakeholders in our area to really find out what their challenges are and what would they deem to be a helpful service, because it's not for us to assume that. Okay.
Thank you, David. So it's Tina here again. So just what we wanted to do was tell you a little bit about some of the research we've done to date. So we're not novices in the digital world. We have had funding through the Eric Wright Charitable Trust. And we've assisted, 300 people on one-to-one assistive technology sessions, and we've had group sessions. And this has enabled us to launch, Alexa Skill latterly, and also Be My Eyes, which is an app which gives vision to a service user in their home who hasn't actually got sight. And what we've sort of learned from this is how transformative and life-changing, technology can be. And that's, as Rachel was saying, has really come to the fore with COVID, because everything's gone online. And, we've carried out some in-depth case studies and a digital survey, really to look at how people are using tech, and also perhaps what's preventing them from using it. And really what's become clear through that is that, people need, the knowledge, and they also need to know, what barriers there are, what technology can do for them. They need some specific one-to-one training to help that. And so really all this work and, some discussions we've held with site support in Hull and East Yorkshire, who've sort of trialed this a little bit as part of a larger programme. This has helped us sort of develop a user needs statement, which I'll read out, which really says, as a visually impaired person, when I want to access services online, I need to know what can help me so that I can participate in our digital world. And really this project is all about how we're going to go about doing that, and so that we can test, our methodology. Thank you, David. So the key challenges we want to address really through this is to see whether the provision of a remote of remote training with an Android tablet with assistive technology installed and Wi-Fi enabled will provide, the required support to increase the numbers of visually impaired people to use tech so that they can participate in mainstream life. And that's particularly important, obviously, with Lancashire and Sefton being in tier 3 now. There's a list of user assumptions we want to test, which is, really to see whether participants, are going to complete their remote training. Once they've done their training, are they actually then going to go out and buy a tablet or a phone or some other digital device? Or, do they need help in order, for them to do that, if affordability is an issue? How easy it's going to be for us to receive that equipment back, and really how working with, a digital partner can enhance our delivery. And really we want to test this approach to see whether it's going to meet our short and long-term outcomes. So to really try and increase, the number of participants feeling confident in accessing, technology, and also, longer term to improve their emotional well-being, and enabling them to participate more and to feel, to feel part of the world that, that the rest of us, are able to do so. So as I've said, we want to see how working with a digital partner enhances our delivery, and importantly as well, how we evaluate and disseminate this work and ensure that our network of 12 other, sort of digital, they're sight loss charities, how we can pass on our learning to them. Thank you.
Okay, so I think it's me next. It's Andrew from Galloway's. So these are our top 3 questions for digital partners. Number 1, can you tell us about your experience? Have you worked with marginalized groups, including the visually impaired community? So that's our question number 1. Number 2, in what ways can you help Galloway's design the training and support? And question number 3, we want to ensure that we effectively measure and evaluate the pilot, disseminating results to our network, and how can you help us do this? I was just reading that quite slowly because I was magnifying my screen. But there are our top 3 questions really that we need to know from our digital partners who are interested in the project, to help us evaluate how we'll be able to work in partnership. And these are our main kind of 3 questions in priority. Hope that's clear.
Well, thanks very much. Thanks for such a concise summary of what was quite a quite a detailed, thorough brief that we put up on the website. So that's really helpful. I wonder if before we sort of have a look at those 3 questions through you, Nick, if you've got any sort of questions from your end that you would like to ask Tina, Rachel, Andrew, or Hasanga about the brief that you've either read online or what you've just heard now.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I thought it was really clear, and especially the questions for people like us of what we can help you with. Could you tell me more about how you would envisage any training being delivered? Would it be through purely through digital, or with people from your own organisation? How would you see that going with training?
Okay, do you want me to answer that one? I can answer that one. So we envisage, obviously because of the situation at the moment with COVID, this was partly COVID driven as well, in terms of we think that we can do it remotely, and we have been doing some remote training with people, but it has been quite difficult depending on their expertise and their ability to use certain applications for remote assistance. The software that we've looked at allows us to remotely access a device, an Android device that would be with that particular person, and we envisage that we would do all the training remotely with them. So we could do that. We could do that over the phone, but we could also do that through the remote assistance software, so that we can actually kind of visually see what they're doing, or we can intervene to help them. With the objective of what we want to do. But I think it would be a dual process of a phone conversation and a remote access session at the same time, if that makes sense. And does that answer your question, Nick?
Yeah, I think so. Do you know what the remote assistance software is?
Yeah, the one that we've looked at and we've kind of gone for in the bid is called Zoho Assist. And what that allows us to do is once it's set up with the individual's tablet that we provide them with, it gives us what we call unattended access. So as long as the device is online, through Wi-Fi or through the provided data connection, 4G connection, then obviously with the client's permission in a training session, we will be able to log on to that device without the client having to read a number or press activate a button on the device to allow us access, because that has been one of the barriers that has been an issue with doing remote access, is people, unless they're in the bespoke software on the tablet, which is what we've been looking at, which is called Synaptic, which is easy for them to use, then they may struggle with an Android app such as TeamViewer or Zoho Assist for them to give us that permission. So this allows us basically just to hop on with their permission, and then we've got instant access, and that can be all pre-configured beforehand.
Okay, that sounds great. And so that kind of direct control would only be for the purposes of the trial and seeing what works and getting results.
Yeah, essentially, it gives us the opportunity to intervene and to demonstrate things to people, but also to see what visually is going on. So myself as a trainer, working at Galloway's on our assistive technology program, I've managed to do some remote work with people throughout COVID on their device, but it has been very tricky getting that you know, getting that organized. But when we've done it, it's worked really well. But it has been quite difficult just over the phone, because somebody that's blind or partially sighted cannot always convey what's actually happening on the device at that particular time. They might be new to technology. They might not be able to recognize exactly what the current situation is on the device. So the fact that, you know, that I can, or you can, or we can as a team be able to see that first-handed means that we can help convey the situation across to the individual a lot more concise than we would on just a phone call, because we are constantly saying, what can you see? You know, can you see this in the top right hand corner of the screen? And they might not be able to see it, but we know that it's there. So it makes things a lot easier if we can visualize and see what they can't see or what they can see, alongside with the audio and the speech facilities that these devices have as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's always easiest if you're with someone to kind of to help them, but obviously that's not really an option.
Absolutely. Sometimes, you know, it also means that we can not take over and do it for them, but we can demonstrate things to, you know, if we're doing a session with someone and they're struggling to do that, we can demonstrate it to them, and then we can go back and then they can repeat that process. Sometimes that works really well as well when we're doing this type of training with people. It's basically, the way I describe it is basically, it's like sitting alongside that person, but obviously we can't do that at the moment. So essentially we're virtually sitting alongside them with their device.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Can I just add to that?
Yeah.
We are delivering some face-to-face services. So, you know, we're not ruled that out entirely. Obviously, you know, we've risk assessed that situation. We are in tier 3. And so predominantly everything is happening over the phone or online. Having said that, though, if we reach a point that cannot be delivered, or that one session or that one, you know, that one little part of it can't be done, then we can deliver face-to-face, because we've assessed the need for that, and we can put the measures in place, the safety measures in place in order to deliver it. It's just not our kind of first point of, you know, we wouldn't jump into that at the moment, obviously.
Cool.
Thanks, Andrew and Rachel. Nick, have you got any other, seeing as you're here, have you got any other questions that you'd like to ask the Galloway's team?
I'm not sure for right now. I'm just looking back through the notes. Not anything that pops to mind right now.
That's fine. And I'll throw it back to Galloway's team. If there's anything you'd like to ask either Nick as a interested digital partner, or myself from CAST as a sort of you know, linking up and coordinating some of this, yeah, please feel free to do so.
Nick, what sort of experience have you had?
So I'm a developer, and as I said earlier, a lot of what I do focuses on accessibility, making sure markup is right, compatible with screen readers and things like that. I think in terms of the things that you need, it wouldn't be perhaps myself doing that with service design and training design and measuring outcomes. That would be kind of different people at Neon Tribe, but I'd be looking to pass this on to them and see what they think. I don't think we have so much experience working directly with visually impaired people, but that is why I would be interested in this project, I think, because it's hard to go out and meet anyone these days, isn't it? So anytime you can work with people that you are designing things for, I think that's always useful.
Hasanga, you have a question?
Nick, hi. I've just quickly had a look at your website. I'm assuming it's this one?
Yep.
Yeah. It wasn't clear for me. Just wondered what's the product that you were so proud of that you recently developed, with who?
So any product we recently developed.
Yeah.
I'm
You're most proud of, or your company most proud of?
Most proud of. I think the Mind of My Own products. help a lot of people. It's a whole suite of apps that help young people express their feelings, and we work very hard to make that as accessible as we can. I hope that all the things that we make help people in some way.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks to Sanga for the question. Anyone else want to put Nick on the spot?
What do you think the challenges might be in delivering this sort of project, you know, given your sort of expertise?
I guess that sort of setting the goals of what you need, what capabilities you would like people to have afterwards that they don't have before. So not just kind of, here's a load of things you can do with technology or we can do online, but what's going to make things different afterwards, and how you can persist that benefit. So it's not just kind of, here's a thing you've had for a short time and taken away. I would say those would be the challenges of what's most important, and persisting that and hopefully spreading it.
I think, yeah, that's a good point. And I think the whole kind of idea, the goal around this project is to work with people that have never, they've not had access to a device before. They, necessarily don't have an internet connection at home. So we're giving them a product and a package for us, for them to try and also have the benefit of the training in place at the same time. To promote the benefits of using technology and how that can enable someone that's blind or partially sighted, with a range of activities that they would normally find quite difficult to accomplish without technology. So I think you're right, that it's kind of looking at the outcomes and what does a person want to learn at the end of this. I think it's there are some key objectives in terms of learning objectives for us as an organisation, but I think we also want to work with the individuals to find out, where can we make this bespoke for them so the technology works for them. And then I think at the end of it, it's a case of it gives that person they've had the experience. Yes, we know they don't keep the device, but they then can make a better informed decision about whether technology is the way forward for them, and they can say that they've had that opportunity to try technology, instead of sometimes the response that we get from a lot of people is technology is not accessible to me. How can a blind person use a tablet? We're trying to challenge a lot of those preconceptions by doing this type of project, and we can change people's outlook, and then it's up to them. Then if they've had the opportunity, they tried it, and then if they want to go ahead, we're there to support them. If they don't want to go ahead, then they can say, well, I've tried it, I've had the opportunity. And that, of course, we want everybody to say, technology is for me, but not everybody might. But that's the opportunity for someone here is to try and have the opportunity to give technology a go.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I think when we're thinking of user personas for different things, we usually try and include one that's like someone who doesn't have any access. It's easy to get stuck in kind of, oh, here's someone who uses a mobile, here's someone who uses a desktop or something like that. But people who don't have access is an interesting problem, and this is probably a unique way to solve that or to explore with taking devices to them with the training.
Yeah, great.
All right, I'm going to ask you another question, Nick. I'm sort of interested about, I know it might not be your speciality, but about the sort of measurement and evaluation. I suppose, quite often what we tend to do at the moment is we do case studies, we might do before and after, surveys, but obviously when somebody's visually impaired, it can be challenging. And I'd sort of be interested, to hear about maybe digital solutions that could help overcome that as part of maybe the training, so that you can sort of see instantly almost how somebody's progressed. Have you got any sort of experience or tips on that?
I'm not sure, but certainly if it was something that was built into the training, almost that it was prepared, that you wanted to contrast how things were at the start to the end and have that as like a thread running through it. I think that would be part of the way towards that. Yeah, I think other people at Neon Tribe are more to do with the service designer and measuring how things are improved from that. Yeah, I can get people in contact with you if you'd like to say more about that kind of thing.
Thanks, Tina. Thanks, Nick. Any other comments? We've still got a bit of time.
I've got a question for you, David.
Yeah.
But it's just really how this process then works.
Yeah, from okay. So we've got an open procurement process. So the brief is up on the website. We're promoting this widely to the Catalyst network and beyond. So any other sort of tech communities, tech for good communities, anyone who we feel might be interested in this opportunity, any partners can then apply, sort of bid for the tender. The application closes on the 26th of October. We've then got a period to assess from due diligence to actually scoring the different bids. That takes about 3 weeks, including sort of contracting. Obviously, there's a sort of a dialogue that then takes place between ourselves as a sort of assessors, if you like, and yourselves, who are the sort of the client in a sense here, to make sure that you're aware of the applications we received, the shortlisting, and we can have a dialogue around that if that's something that you would like to have. It varies with different organizations, and then there's a sort of confirmation of the successful partner. Contracting takes place, and the program then kicks off on the 16th of November for 10 weeks. So it ends on I think it's the 5th of February, but there's a 2-week break around Christmas. But that's, in a nutshell, that's kind of the open procurement process, due diligence, assessment, dialogue, contracting, and then kicking off the program on a one-to-one basis, really, with the selected digital partner and yourselves. Obviously working closely with members of the CAST team. So you probably met Debbie, and there's also Molly, Reem, Ellie. It was a whole sort of whole team kind of really working on supporting both the charity, if you like, the grantee, as well as the digital partner, to make sure that we're also learning about how effective these programs are, because we are also learning, as you know, we're learning by doing. This is a new sort of approach to trying to ensure that you're matched with the best possible partner out there, and also just to support with any issues that might arise, any sort of sharing across there's 11 other programs that will be happening at the same time. So making sure that we're learning from each other, with some will have similar challenges. Obviously there's a lot around improving digital skills. Some are focusing on improving digital skills of volunteers. You're focusing on, a particular group, people that are visually impaired, but there will be similarities coming out of the program and the learning. So sharing that through the different cohorts, and then capturing the learnings more widely across the Catalyst network, so we can share all this good stuff that's going to come out of the 10 weeks more widely, including through your own networks, but also hopefully other people can benefit from this work. So yeah, that's a summary. Feel free to ask anything more specific, but that's kind of the process we have planned.
So anyone can apply between, they don't have to have registered beforehand on a sort of a platform or anything. I wasn't sure about that. So
there's an eligibility criteria, obviously, for partners also, which is in the brief. So that's kind of part of obviously hopefully they'll have read that and they'll read that before applying. We've also got a due diligence process then to make sure that they meet that eligibility criteria. But otherwise, yeah, everyone can apply through the brief. It says on the open projects portal we use. So you just sign up to that, and then you can put in an application anytime between now and the end of 26th of October. Yeah, and then we obviously assess as a team, and then we start consulting the charity if you want to be involved in that process. Hopefully that answers your question, Tina.
That's great, thank you.
And if you want, there's quite a detailed sort of bit at the bottom of your brief, which you may have not have read yet because it's all happened quite fast. But you can find the eligibility criteria there for the partner too. And Nick, I'm sure you've seen that too in the brief. Towards the bottom, I think it's page 9, the bottom of page 9.
Yes, yeah.
Great, and we will be, I mean, like I said at the start, we are promoting this. They were up on Wednesday last week, so you know it's been a short sort of time frame to get the word out. It's gone out in our newsletter. It's going out on social media channels, and we are kind of promoting this as through other networks. Yeah, still a good week to get the word out and make sure that partners have time to apply. And obviously they can ask questions directly to us by email at partners@wearecast.org.uk. For anyone who's watching this recording, that's the best way to sort of catch one of us, and we can reply within hopefully within a couple of days, if not before. Yeah, that's sort of the support process we have in place.